Hi, this is Jeff Curto, and welcome to episode number 187 of Camera Position, the podcast about the creative side of photography. Well, I have the good fortune this fall of spending the fall semester teaching for a wonderful study abroad program in Cortona, Tuscany. The University of Georgia has a wonderful campus here, and they invited me to come back. I was here in 2014 teaching, and they invited me to come back here in the fall of 2016 to teach photography again. And it's a wonderful experience for me, and I think a great experience for the students who get to live in this great small Tuscan hill town of Cortona and do all kinds of field experiences and this wide variety of things that they get to do. And I'll put a link to the University of Georgia Study Abroad program in the show notes on the podcast blog page at cameraposition.com, and also in the app, in the PDF that's in the app. But my point is not really to talk about the study abroad program, but rather to talk about the fact that, as longtime listeners know, I spend a lot of time in Italy. And one of the things that's really interesting to me is that I'm getting to sort of inhabit old stomping grounds. I'm able to not only return here to Cortona and live here for a few months, but also to go to a lot of my favorite places around Italy, around especially the central area of Tuscany and Umbria, and to be able to spend time in those places. And many of those places are places I know quite well. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because I often find myself now, especially in these last couple of months, I find myself in places that I've been before with a camera in my hand. Places that I've been with a camera in my hand, a place that I've already photographed. Sometimes I've photographed it extensively, and I find myself thinking a thing that I find to be just awful and deathly to photographers, and that is, I've already made that photograph. And I think to myself, but you haven't made that photograph in this set of circumstances, with this quality of light, at this time of the year, with this set of pieces of knowledge in your head that you might not have had before. And, what I've realized is that I sometimes, and I'll bet that for many longtime photographers who are out there listening, that this is the same for some of you as well, I sometimes become jaded because I've already done that photograph before. I've already made that picture. And for those of us who've been doing photography for a long time, there is that feeling that, I've already done that. I've already been there. I've already made the photograph, even if it's not the exact same subject in the exact same location. You think to yourself, I've already got plenty of photographs of clouds. I've already got plenty of photographs of trees. I've already got plenty of photographs of water. And I think the idea that I've already done that photograph before is a terrible and deathly idea for photographers. And I'd like you to think of it as practicing. Practicing, like practicing music. The more you do, the better you get. And what I've begun to do to kind of force myself to do this is really just force myself to make those same photographs over again. And then, of course, as a learning experience, go back and look at the photographs that I made in that same location. The beauty of keywords rearing its head here to allow us to find easily in our catalogs of images photographs of places that we've visited before, or photographs of concepts that we've had before. The other part about this that I think is really interesting is when we look at photographers' work where the photographer has spent a lot of time very carefully photographing the same subject over and over again. And I'm going to point you to both in the show notes here and also on the PDF on the app. I'm going to point you to a photographer who's a friend of mine, a guy named Shatz. Lincoln has been every day for the last year plus photographing Lake Michigan. And he's photographing it in this really kind of consistent way structurally in terms of how he's photographing it, but tell me if you don't think the photographs that he's making are quite interesting. Quite interesting because of the way in which he is consistently photographing the same subject. And I think that it goes beyond the idea of always making the photograph, always making the picture that you see in front of you, to embark on a project where you know that all the photographs are going to have a similar look and feel. But when you look at these pictures that Lincoln has made, what you'll discover is that each one is uniquely different. Each one has its own characteristic. And he begins then to tell us a story about Lake Michigan, a story about water, a story about atmosphere, and about the way in which water and atmosphere and sky and weather and time of year all combine in different ways to make a different photograph. So I guess what I'm saying is don't become jaded because you've already done that photograph before. Always make the photograph. If you're thinking about making the photograph, you're standing in a place and you think, should I make that picture? Hell yes, you should make that picture. Make the photograph and see what it looks like. And if you have other photographs that you've made in that same situation before, compare the old ones to the new ones and see what you've learned in between. So thanks, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Camera Position, the podcast about the creative side of photography.